And here's some of the footage I got from last year's Broadwaycon. A panel on Dear Evan Hansen, Spongebob SquarePants, Laura Benanti, and Broadway Blizzard. That's where you just call famous people up and talk to them.
Do I have any Hansens out there? Do I have any Dear Evan Hansens? Raise your cast high. Well, this is the panel for you. Guys, today is going to be a great day. Here's why. Please welcome to the stage, Taylor Trench, I know, I like these celebrities. Let's see what's going on. So, hey, guys, the Hansens are here. How excited is this?
Hansen, the band Hansen.
Yes. Congratulations on the show. First, let's start by asking the big question. When did you guys first see Dear Evan Hansen? This is a hard ticket to get at first.
Yes.
I saw it for the very first time this past summer, just before my audition, ever. It's really good.
You guys should see it. It's a pretty good show.
I saw it in D.C. many moons ago.
Oh.
And off-Broadway, and on-Broadway. I'm a Hansen!
Wow. So what was it like in D.C.? Did you know immediately, I kind of want to be a part of this?
No. No, I saw it and I was very impressed.
Do some work.
There's some tweaks. No, I very much enjoyed it. I cried and I laughed and I loved.
Danced like no one was watching.
That's right, that's right. No, I liked it very much, and Ben Platt, you know, he's a buddy, so I was there to support him. And then I got to see it off-Broadway. It was nice to see the trajectory, see all the changes and how it evolved. Yeah, and I got to see sort of every iteration, which was a cool thing to be a part of. And then when I got to see it on Broadway, that was extra cool, extra special. You never get to see a show come to fruition like that, you know? It's very rare that a musical does that.
I know you have the hat trick of Dear Evan Hansen. You saw all three.
Hell yeah.
I only made it to 2 out of 3, so I can't compare.
Loser.
What about... You guys know Glavin just called me a loser. It's amazing. Savage. Talk to me a little bit about your audition, because you had seen it right before you auditioned. So you went into seeing the show knowing you were auditioning?
Yes. Michael Greif asked me to see the show before my audition, and I saw it, and I said, uh-oh, because it's really hard. And I came in, and I met everybody, Steven and Benj and Justin and Michael and Stacy, our producer, and I sang some songs. And then they very nicely the next day asked me to be a part of the show.
What did you sing?
Waving through a window. I sang The Wizard and I. Just kidding.
The Wizard and I. Now that would be a good audition song.
I sang Words Fail, and maybe If I Could Tell Her also. Yeah. Same. Do you concur?
I concur. I'm not as fancy as Taylor, so I didn't. You know, I had to learn like a 50-page packet. Slaved over that for a couple weeks. And I live in Los Angeles, so I was working with a vocal teacher there, and then flew to New York for the audition. And that was stressful. Took a Soul Cycle class beforehand to just like get it all moving and
Right. It seems to be required if you're going to be part of the show. You have to take Soul Cycle.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, and then auditioned, and then had a little work session with Michael Greif and one of our musical directors, Ben Cohn, and then had a final callback. And it was terrifying, and that was in front of, you know, pretty much the whole creative team. Yeah, and then I got it a couple days later.
So Steven, at this time you are aware that both of these guys are going for this. What was your experience with them?
Yeah, I got to go, I mean, it was, honestly, it's a really hard audition. It must have been 45 minutes.
Easy.
For like, I mean, if they go through the entire arc of the show, at least one of them.
We've got 40 minutes, so if you want to just do it.
Yeah, exactly. With both of these guys, honestly, our response was to just kind of try to keep it cool. behind the audition table because and not let on that we were too excited about them. You know, I was like, yeah, totally, let's see it again. But we just knew the second both of them came in, they blew us away. They both presented different Evans than each other, and but that they were so fully alive and so compelling. Yeah, we just tried to like not freak them out.
I love the idea of trying to play it cool. When they walk out of the room, it's like high-fiving, like, yeah!
No, I remember I was sitting next to Stacy, because with both of them, we came to the callback, so we had been sort of forewarned. I guess it was like, you guys you're gonna be happy with this. And then we were sitting there, and I just remember looking at Stacy and being like, I think I whispered to her, like, will he do it? I remember saying that, like, do they definitely want to do it? That was our real concern. It's like, are they gonna, yeah.
Well, it's a big deal, too, because Noah, this is your Broadway debut.
Thank you, Mitch.
He is a theater veteran. I did see him in the Burnt Part Boys at Playwrights Horizons and fell in love.
Tell me a little bit about your background as an actor in musical theater.
Musical theater. When I was 10 years old, I sang for an agent over the phone named Nancy Carson, and she was like, go to this audition. And so I went to audition for the national tour of Les Mis, the third national tour of Les Mis, and I booked that, and I went on tour with Les Mis for like 9 months, and then I came back, and I played Javert, yeah,
Your Bring Him Home is
youngest ever, yes.
Yeah, you can go really good.
That's right. And then I came back to New York, and I sort of became like the development kid and developed like a lot of new musicals, did like every reading ever, played like the small child in most readings in New York.
You still do.
And I still do.
Anything we would know?
23 to play 13. Anything that you would know? Some Limelight, that Charlie Chaplin musical I was a part of back in the day. Some random
Tons of
stuff.
Limelight fans, they went crazy.
Oh yeah, they love that. And then I sort of, The Burnt Part Boys was a musical that I did when I was like 15, 16. And then I sort of like left the world of musical theater and did a lot of like intense, like dark off-Broadway plays for a few years.
Yes.
Worked at like the Rattlestick for $200 a week and, cried a lot. And then I went to LA to be on a TV show for a couple of years.
The Real O'Neills.
And then I had sort of like never thought I was going to do musical theater again. I haven't sang in like a long time. So this was like...
It's back in the face.
Yeah.
Like, here.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, then I was thrust into this process, and here we are.
Did you grow up like loving musicals? When was the first show you saw? Do you remember?
Yes. Yeah, loved musical theater. Love musical theater. The first show I ever saw was You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Kristen Chenoweth. Yeah.
You were transformed
it was
by
very
my philosophy.
very formative. Very formative. Yeah.
How could it not be? What about you, Ted?
I saw like tours growing up as a kid.
Where'd you grow up, Taylor?
Tampa, Florida.
Hell yeah.
Florida.
Really? Yeah. The first Broadway musical I saw was the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. I saw that and like the Piazza in one weekend and was changed.
Wow.
So good.
Totally different shows.
So different, but both so beautiful. Both starring Celia Keenan Bolger at some point.
That's great. It's just kind of the through line.
Yeah, totally. It still is my number one.
Have you gotten to tell her that yet?
I have, like too many times. She's like, okay, thank you.
I love fanning out on when Broadway people fan out on other Broadway people. It's kind of the best.
That's me. That's me all the time.
What about you, Stephen? Did you have a huge background in like musical theater before this?
Well, my first show was Starlight Express. Which I also grew up seeing tours. I lived in Maryland.
Is that why you asked us to do this in roller skates?
Yeah. That wasn't, yeah.
All right, that's where that came from.
Ultimately chose and stuff. But we, yeah, no, I grew up doing, I was an actor in plays and musicals as a kid, and then I went to college and started writing plays. And then this was my first musical.
You did pretty good on this one, huh? Start on a win. Tell me about, I know that when you were developing this, the story kind of began with an experience that Benj had in his real life. How did he first tell you about this?
Well, what happened was Benj and Justin had started, Stacy Mindich, the producer, was a big fan of theirs and basically came to them and said, is there an idea that you guys are burning to do that nobody else wants you to do, basically? Because they were at this point, where a lot of musical theater composers are, where they were getting pitched a lot of books and movies, and you want to adapt this, and you know, those kinds of things, and she wanted something original from them. And Benj had this experience that he told her about, and then subsequently Benj and Justin told me about, where in high school, there was a fellow classmate of his who didn't really have a lot of friends, was sort of an outsider, and he died of a drug overdose. And in the aftermath of his death, all of the kids in the high school sort of, or a large portion of them started to kind of claim a connection to him that they didn't necessarily have. Everybody wanted kind of to be a part of that tragedy, and say, you know, oh, we had been friends when we were younger, or my locker was near his locker. And in the years after that, this was way before social media, this was in the mid-90s probably.
Dial-up days.
Yeah, exactly. But in the subsequent years, you know, especially around 9/11, and then as social media picked up, Benj and Justin, and I think all of us, really picked up on that phenomenon of public grieving and kind of exhibitionism online of, you know, like whenever a celebrity died, it would be sort of like everybody needed to make it about themselves. You know, like, oh, I met him once, or he was my favorite, like this kind of strange ritual. And when we started talking, our question was sort of, well, what's behind that? There's obviously a narcissistic impulse behind that, and I want to make it about me impulse, but we were like, what's the deeper human impulse that we can all relate to, we can all empathize with? You know, why would you want to claim a connection to something that you don't actually have a connection to?
So what has it been like with, now that the show is out, has anybody from that high school come up and been like, hey, that was us?
That's such a good question. That is a good question for Benj, because I always wonder that too.
He's not here, sorry guys.
He's not here.
Do you want to call him maybe, or we'll text him?
Yeah, it's been interesting. There are also, you know, a lot of people have seen the show and have recognized similar events in their own high schools or in their own communities. So it does seem like a somewhat pervasive phenomenon. And I think what we did and what we were interested in doing was trying to figure out who was a character that would embody this idea without necessarily, we eventually sort of went away from where the story began and made it more about who is Evan and who are the people around him and what would make someone feel so alone that they would need to be a part of something that they weren't actually a part of.
The thing that's so amazing about, if you haven't seen the show, the thing that's so amazing about your book is that you find a way to empathize with every character. I don't know if you guys feel this way when you first saw it, but I found myself watching it being like, oh, I'm totally on Evan's side. Oh wait, actually no, I'm on Evan's mom's side. Oh wait, no, I'm on, you did such a great job of encompassing all those voices.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I think this show is, I think it's easy for that character to like not be likable, and that was my biggest fear in coming into this, was like, oh dear.
Yeah, no, I think the secret to Evan, as we learned as we wrote, and as all of these wonderful actors have embodied him, is that he is desperate to make other people feel good. He has this kind of weakness in him for other people's pain. He's a kid who I think is used to people's pain. Obviously his mother shares a lot of her pain with him, and he's used to telling her what she needs to hear to feel better. And so when he's presented with the situation of these parents coming to him and saying, there's something you could tell us that would make us feel good. The lie doesn't come from the impulse of what can I get out of it, but more what can I give them. And that's sort of what made him a redeemable character, and hopefully a character that we can all see, oh, maybe I might do that too, you know?
Yeah, no, I think he definitely calls to our innermost insecurities in a lot of ways. And I know that I responded to the material as an out gay man, being like, I see a lot of my adolescence in this. Has that experience connected with either of you either?
Certainly.
Like, what do you see of yourself in Evan?
Totally. I wholeheartedly. I feel like I'm often playing the outsider or the misfit. I think we all feel like this at some point. Even if you're like the most popular kid at school, there's like something inside of you that feels like you don't really belong with the rest of the group, or that you're different. I think that like theme of difference. I think everyone in the play feels it, even if we don't explore it like thoroughly. So I definitely related.
Same.
Same.
What is watching the show with you and Noah felt like a totally different experience, and I'm sure the same will be said for when I see it with you.
No, it's pretty much the same.
It's the same. Performance. Have you heard from cast members feeling like it's different too? Because it felt like everyone was playing their roles in a different way because of that.
Yeah, I'm a different person, so inherently I'm gonna like play the role differently than Ben is. And I think everybody in the cast is,
Stay right there.
But everybody in the cast, thank you, Taylor. Everybody in the cast, we support each other. Everybody in the cast is lovely, and they're all like really wonderful actors who are there to who are so game and like very easy to work with and work off of. And I think they've all been doing it for a really long time. And so me coming in, I think was nice for all of them to have a little bit of like a little jolt, a little like changing up a little bit, mixing it up.
A little shimmy there.
A little shimmy shake.
I had to put in rehearsal with the cast on stage yesterday, and a few like members of the associate creative team said they noticed like Michael Park's performance was like I've never seen it before. And so I think that definitely forced them to do something new.
Yeah.
Everybody gets into it. I mean, it's impossible, I'm sure, as an actor when you've been doing something for years not to find a certain rhythm with it. And it is really exciting to watch that rhythm get shaken a little bit. And it puts everybody on their toes. And I think everybody is excited when somebody new comes in. Because the show is inherently different.
And they're all just such good actors.
Yes.
That's why I was so excited to do the play. I loved Ben so much, but everyone else on stage surrounding Ben is so phenomenally talented.
That's
Yeah.
Let's give a round of applause for
I've been excited about that too, and in watching with new actors, you really do get to see those performances shine in a new way, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it felt like a different show, but I still cried my face off. And it isn't just like a little cry. I mean, for me, it's an ugly, like, the whole like.
Lovely public catharsis.
Yeah, so yeah. Well, New York's the only place in the world really where you can just cry in public and everyone just kind of like, all right, it's okay. They're like, that's fine. I gotta go to work. And you guys cried too, right? If you saw the show. Do you ever get caught up in the story, like, you have Rachel Bay Jones singing So Big, So Small to you, and you just start listening to her, and you're like, these are real tears, not acting.
No, very much so. I think that, people ask, like, how do you cry, like, every night? And I say that it's not hard, because
he hits himself in the
it
face
is every night. I stab myself in the tear ducts every night. But Stephen's book, the whole show, all three of our writers, they have crafted this like beautiful evolution, this like ride that we just get to go on. So it doesn't really take a lot of work, and by the end, them are real tears.
Let's talk about some backstage secrets. I'm curious what warm-up is like. How do you prepare to come into this every night?
We're both seeing vocal technician,
Liz Kaplan.
Liz Kaplan.
I had a lesson with her yesterday, and Hugh Jackman was right after me, and I was like, what?
Yeah, I came out the other week and Brooke Shields was after me. And so I was like,
On vinyl, I have the Brooke Shields recording of Grease. Yeah. Incredible. Go out and get it. It's great.
Is there a song that you sing?
Taylor's just making fun of me backstage.
Noah, every time I go to visit Noah in his dressing room before the show, he's listening to the Shmuel song from the last 5 years. I love the last 5 years, but the Shmuel song of all the songs.
This is a really good warm-up album, you know? That's what I usually do. I don't know if I, like, do my scales, per se, but I listen to a lot of, like, there's a nice, like, tenor vocal mix on Spotify that I found.
What's the thing that you say every day in the wings with Laura? Do you do that?
Oh, yeah. Well, right before the show, secrets. Right before the show, the whole cast at places, like, huddles up, gets in a little circle, and this is something that Laura's acting teacher used to say to her students when she was younger. They say, if they can't hear you, they hate you. Which is, like, very dramatic and, like, it's dark. It's like very dark. But we like it. So we say it in a little group huddle. And then in addition, that came when I was there, was a passe. Everybody shoots up into a passe and says, this is very me, and says, if they can't hear you, they hate you. And then we go do the show.
Inspiring.
Inspiring, very uplifting, gets us in the mood, you know.
Now, we all got to first meet you guys into this project with a little video that went viral. You guys probably saw a little dance video that you did.
What you're talking about.
Oh, sorry, yeah, a little dance video.
There's our video.
Of your video, yeah.
My boat.
I'm a fan, you guys, so I have to ask, will you do any of it for us right here?
But it was choreographed by Olivia Puckett, who's also in our show. Yeah.
I asked.
We would if we could remember
I
it.
really don't remember the choreography.
Me neither. I just remember there's like a lot of like butt stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of us.
Nobody in the production knew about that.
Yeah.
Wow, this is
We did.
The day of, we all got an email saying, surprise.
It was Ben Platt's idea.
It was Ben's fault. I'm sorry, Steven, it was Ben.
Throw him right under the bus. He ain't here.
We couldn't get away with something like that because we were like new kids, you know. And I feel
We would
like
have just been fired.
yeah, we'd be like,
Well, it was really funny because Stacey wrote an email to Bench, Justin, and I in all caps saying, did you guys know about this? I kind of love it.
kind of.
I'm curious, Taylor, right before this, you were in another show on Broadway. This little, you probably didn't see it. It's a small show called Hello, Dolly. With some pretty great actors. I'm curious, as a lifelong Bet fan, and you're a theater kid as well, did you have to hold back from just quoting Hocus Pocus to her all the time?
For sure. I mean, she loves it too, though. She
Does she?
loves the movie so much. Gavin had never seen it, and that still is a point of tension between us.
Take his Tony
I was
away.
like, you don't know it. You haven't seen Hocus Pocus. It was very hard. For me, The Rose and First Wives Club were even more like significant. There were every day at some point during the performance, I would like see her backlit and be like, Bette Midler. It
Just
never
tell her, you don't know me. Just like,
and she couldn't be like lovelier. She's so normal and funny, but she's Bette Midler.
that's not what we want to hear. We want to hear like she's a diva.
No.
What was it like walking away from that? I know that must have been tough, huh?
It was very sad. Gavin, Kate Baldwin, and Beanie Feldstein and myself all became very close because we spent like 20 minutes trapped in a curtained off section of the restaurant in Act 2. So there was just so many chats. We had like a card tournament going on stage. Like Bette and David were making magic and we were playing spades just on stage. Also we played Old Maid a lot, but Kate kept getting Old Maid and so we had to stop because she was singing. So I was very sad to leave the people, but it was like I was so excited to be joining this company.
Yeah, give
So,
her a round of applause too.
hella dope.
So, also in my notes, I have a little thing about, because Steven backstage was talking about his daughter, who is adorable and 2.5 years old, and is growing into a theater kid. She's ready to be here at Broadwaycon.
Yeah, well, she's really into Moana right now. But like in a weird, she will only show my wife and me affection in character. So she's like, Chewie, and gives me a hug. Maui. But I'm like, it's Daddy. She's like, no. I get it.
You got a yes and.
I know exactly.
And before that, it was Frozen. You were saying
Before that was Frozen, and she loves Dear Hansen as well.
Dear Hansen.
She went through a period where she really loved. She only likes the songs "Waving Through a Window" and "Only Us" for some reason. And "Only Us" is the ladies' song.
Yeah.
Were there any scenes cut from the book that you missed that you kind of wish were still around?
Yeah, no. But there is a scene, and we talk about this in the book Through the Window. There's a scene. It was my favorite
for the book.
song.
Yeah, way to plug. Way to plug.
Through the Window.
It's free.
You guys got this yet? It's
But there was a scene, a tiny little scene. It was only like 2 pages, with Evan and Zoe right before the assembly, and it was my favorite. That was like my favorite scene in the entire show, and my favorite writing, and I was always like, I'm never gonna cut that. Like that's my one. And then at a certain point off Broadway, we looked at each other, Ben, Justin, and I, and it was like, I don't think that's helping us. And it was for a lot of reasons.
What happened?
Well, it was a tiny little scene. It was a really intimate scene. It was right after she gave Evan and Ty. Zoe came in, and they had this conversation where she said, Zoe basically says, my parents like when you're here. It's like you bring Connor with you, but not how they remember them. Not how they remember him better. Different. And he says, I think that's sort of
crying already.
He said, I think that's sort of what happens when people leave. They get to stay the way you want them to forever. Perfect. And it was like,
Put it back.
so it was this moment where you got the sense of Evan's loss of someone, his father, really. And the problem with it was, first of all, we were like so close to the end of the act, and we were just like on this freight train and we're speeding, and it just always felt like, like you could just feel, even though you liked it, it was like, why are we sinking into this scene? And there was always a sense of, this is a spoiler, at the end of Act 1, when Zoe says to Evan, you don't know what you've given me, like when she kisses him basically, it's such a surprise now because the last time we've seen them, she's rebuffed him, and we don't know where they stand. Right. And this scene was like, it was a baby step toward that, which felt like, we were showing cause and effect. Like, we're coming back together, and then it leads to the kiss. But we realized without that scene, it was so much more surprising and so much more impactful that you don't know what she's going to say when they sit down on the bed together. And it's like, when she says what she says and she kisses him, you're so much more engaged with that moment.
Well, both of That Secret and the full script are available for sale here in Broadwaycon, one of those booths. I also am trying to pull this out right now, yeah. This book and this book. So guys, pick them up. They're pretty great. And I was saying my review's in here too, so it's kind of like we wrote this together.
I know. It's 50-50.
Yeah, I should get just as much credit. What are you doing with your casts when you're done with them?
He donates them to me to hang in my bedroom.
I don't know what they do with them. I don't have a lot of them. I've saved a couple. I saved my Broadway debut one, and I saved the Macy's Day Parade cast. But I think those are the only two I have. And then I stole one for a friend.
Are they like keeping track of them?
Yeah, they hold on to most of them, I think, because they like auction them off every now and then. I think there's one here and some exhibit or something. Exhibit, like a museum.
Broadway Cares that whole season.
Oh yeah, that was really fun. During the Broadway Cares Equity Fights Aid season, Will Rowland's family owns an auction house, and so Will he's an incredible auctioneer, and would do like a live auction every night at the end of the show, which was pretty special. And Ben's final cast, this woman bought it for $35,000, and he went up from $0, went by increments of 500 all the way to $35,000, and this very rich woman came backstage with a black card and just swiped for $35,000. I was like, that's college. Yeah, insane, truly insane. Great tax write-off, great write-off.
All right, so they're not just in like garbage bags in the back of the music box theater.
No, they keep them, but they're also like, it's just like a pretty simple, like nasty fiberglass cast. So
that's such a weird thing about being a writer. If any of you are writers, it's so miraculous when you write something and people actually do it. Like at first it was like, this isn't really gonna happen, and then because I remember being at Arena Stage and for the first time going backstage during probably Tech and seeing them sawing the cast off and like everybody has goggles on, and I was like, whoa, they're really doing this. It's pretty amazing that happens every night.
But yeah, they get kind of gross and like yellow after a while.
I bet.
Oh, do you get scared when they're sawing it off every night?
I did the first few times, and I was like trying to play it cool, But we don't have goggles anymore. It's just like freestyle,
Sounds like a safety issue to me, but that's sort of cool.
It's pretty terrifying though. I mean, it's just like a little like ruler that they put under the arm, and then he takes and then he takes a Dremel, just like a saw, and saws it up. The person who played Michael Lee Brown, our understudy, love MLB, and he is afraid of the saw, but we recently learned that he does this because he's afraid of the saw. We thought it was because he just liked to get his aggression out at intermission and rip the cast off, but we recently learned that he's just terrified of the saw and refuses to let Daniel saw it. So yeah, they start cutting it, and then he'll unwrap it and he's like, oh, it's a great way to get your aggression out. You're just a scaredy cat.
Scared out of his mind.
Yeah.
Tell me, is there a song that when you leave the show is going to be stuck in your head for eons and eons?
This whole score, really. I mean, Leaving, probably.
Leaving, yeah.
It's the song I fear the most.
You fear it the most? Why are you scared of it?
Yeah, I have stress dreams about looking through a window.
You have
just
stress dreams about
that last final B flat on an I vowel. Who wrote that?
Not me.
Yeah, that probably for me. Because I still have anxiety about it.
Are you having anxiety about any songs as you do this?
Just kidding. I'm totally kidding. I have anxiety about everything. So I like singing in general. I feel terrified of. So good part to play.
Yeah. Great career path.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I feel like also every time I've only done a few runs of the show now, but every time we do a full run, my favorite song of the night changes. Lately, I've been truly really into the Waving Through a Window reprise that Alana sings as she crosses town. I'm
the
backstage.
One you
Yeah, truly the one I'm not featured in.
Not backstage.
I'm other people singing. Give it up. Honestly, Anybody Have a Map is my jam.
It's a great song.
I love maps.
It was going to be my opening question, but it seemed a little too on point. Is there, has this kind of lit a bug in you, Noah, that you want to come back to do more musical theater?
We'd like to announce here that we're starring in the second revival of Sideshow.
Sisters. A little bit, yeah. I have, like I said before, I haven't sang in a really long time, and this has made me miss singing a lot. this isn't Carly Rae in your car. This is.
I wish, I know.
This is, marathon singing, Olympic singing. So I don't think I ever wanted to do this again. No, that's not true. I'd very much love to continue playing this part. But yeah, I would like to. Ben had the wonderful opportunity of developing the show, and like I also said before, I was like the development kid growing up, and I really loved that. I loved being a part of like the creation and evolution of something. That was something I really enjoy.
You are supremely talented, so I don't want you to stop singing because you sound
thanks.
unbelievable.
I'd like to have the opportunity of developing something of my own, in which I don't have to sing as much every night.
That's good. We have some questions coming in from the Twitter handle.
Ooh.
So we want to grab those questions. Oh, we have to read them here. My eyes are terrible. Okay. This is for Stephen. Was there a part that was most difficult to write?
Well, the hardest part for the three of us was the beginning. That was the hardest. That took us the longest time to crack.
The opening.
Like that, if you saw it at Arena and...
What was it?
At Arena, it was a totally different song. It's called This'll Be the Year. Totally different. And it was a weird problem that we had, which was essentially we felt like our main character should sing the first song, but we also felt like Waving was the first song Evan should sing. Yeah. And we knew that it couldn't happen immediately because there's so much about getting to know Evan in those first few scenes that when he finally starts singing, you're like, oh, and you're delighted to be inside of his head. So that was very difficult for us. Also, the ending, the last scene, was a scene that in the orchard with Zoe and Evan was a scene that was in that shape. Kind of since the very first draft of the show, but probably word for word has changed the most. Like, a tiny little, just kept tweaking that scene. Because it just felt very delicate, very precise.
Yeah, I saw a copy of the stage manager script backstage, and there were some like lines that had just been like crossed out, but like, it wasn't like a necessarily updated script, and I was like, fascinating.
Yeah, it's all cuts. It's like, it's just getting closer and closer to the thing itself.
All right, let's see what the next question is. Coming through. How do you think the use of technology during the show adds to the impact of the show overall?
Well, I can say that we started off knowing from the beginning that this was going to be a huge element of the show. We really wanted it to be, because the world that we live in is the world of technology, as we all know. We all have smartphones, and it felt like we were going to tell a contemporary story. That was the world that it was going to be set in. And when we first met with Michael Gray about a year after starting working on it, we were like, we have no idea what this is or how to do this. And he basically said, I know the people that can make this happen. Because the way we wrote the script was not like, Evan stands downstage and talks to the audience and that means he's on. We were just like, they're chatting online and someone will figure out what that means. So they did. We have an incredible design team.
And they did a great job because it could look so cheesy.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been so bad.
Yeah, it's a very hard thing to make successful, and I think a lot of shows have not been successful in that.
Our big message from the beginning was we never wanted it to be about technology. Like, we never wanted there to be a song about, like text messaging or people like, because we don't talk that way. We're not self-conscious about our technology. And so that was a message that the designers really took to heart too. It's never literal. That was the word we always used, and we were like, we never want it literal. We never want to because we get a lot of questions like, are they Snapchatting? Are they texting? And we're like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Because it's like the way we use our phones now. Is there a difference when we're emailing or texting or Skyping? It's all kind of the same, medium.
Do you know who those voices are in You Will Be Found?
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Broadway's Now the Lights.
And yes, I'm right here this weekend.
Yes.
Jen Colella.
Yes.
Gerard Canonico.
Bernie Zakin. Yeah.
Jason Tam.
Broadway's
Wait,
Secret.
also Asa Somers, who is Michael Park's understudy in the show. always think it's like very meta because he is a voice in the virtual community, but sometimes also plays Larry. So that's a funny thing for me.
That was one of the more difficult things. In the script, it just said voices, like not a number, not who said what. And in early readings, it would literally be Bench and me going like, you do this line, then I'll do that line. It's like, here we just go. And that was kind of a complicated figuring out what we were allowed to use with equity and how to record those actors. We spent a mammoth recording session with a bunch of actors all saying all of the lines. And then, at least in DC, one of the engineers and I sat in a room with a laptop and listened to each of those lines from each of those actors like again and again. And that was kind of mind-numbing. But we liked what we had.
That's the part of the show where I feel like I'm being read. Like I feel like you guys are saying to me like, you idiot, you write this stuff all the time on Twitter and it's made up. So that's what I love the most about that. Next question, we can take one or two more. All right, what is your favorite part of playing Evan and what is your favorite part of the show?
Go on.
Well, my favorite part of playing, no, I'm sorry.
My favorite part of playing Evan. I don't know. I like working with these actors. I love working with all the women in all the women in the show are like lovely to work with. Jennifer Laura Thompson from day one just has given praise be. Has just like first time I got to work with her was in a put-in. Was in like a put-in rehearsal. I had 2 put-ins and a put-in. It's like that we kept doing this. But she from like the get-go gave me like full tears. Gave me like her like 100 like from the get-go. And that was it's amazing. They're all very giving actors.
What was the second part?
Favorite part of the show?
I liked the like middle of the second act too. There's a lot of comedy. There's a lot of bits there, and I have shtick coursing through my veins, and I'm constantly being told like by Michael Greif like. Yeah, basically, he kicks people out of our dressing room all the time. Taylor's in my dressing room the other day. He's like, "Can I whisper something in your ear?" And I was like, "Is it the same note you give me every day?" And he was like, "Uh-huh." And I was like, "Then no." And the note is, "Stop playing into the comedy, Noah."
Wait, my answer is the same, but for such a different reason. I like the middle of Act 2 because that's when it starts to get like so dark. Maybe I don't understand the play.
Different parts of the second act, right?
I guess so.
I like the middle of the second act because it feels like, for Evan, because that's when he really feels like he can't get off. I mean,
Yes.
that is the trick. Like,
Yes.
at that point as an actor, you're like strapped in.
That's what I love about the show
Yeah.
is that he's like, it's so rewarding to like be on stage the whole time because you never get a chance to like check out. Curious Incident was like very much the same. Where like once it starts. There's a lot of overlap there where like the main actor, like you get on stage and it's like, here we go.
Yeah.
All right, my last question for you guys is, this is such an important show. It means so much to so many fans. What message do you have to them? I mean, I know that everyone comes to you at the stage doors with their own personal stories. What message do you have for them walking away from the show? I know, it's a big one.
I don't know. Being on the Real O'Neills, I had a lot of people, talking, like asking for advice, and it was mostly about coming out. But I think this sort of like, there's crossover here, and there's, this is sort of a nice like general. I always told people to like never isolate, like keep talking, always have a dialogue, and to take their time. It was always like the 3 things I would tell people. Yeah. So I think that's like nice general advice to give in any situation.
The message that and it changes every time I see the show, but the thing that really I find important to remember for myself and that the show is really about is that social media especially, but just the world we live in general, we believe that everybody's life is better than ours, and that everybody is having this beautiful, perfect, curated life, and we must be the only ones putting the pictures on Instagram that make it look that way, and everybody else really is that way. And I think that the show, it shows you that all of these people are lost and alone in their own way and kind of have their own defenses and their own armor up around them. But ultimately, none of them is actually fully satisfied all the time or fully happy all the time. And once they accept that, I think there's the chance for true fulfillment on the other end of that.
Great advice. Guys, thank you so much for your time.